Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art, located here in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is August 24th, 2018, heading into the end of the last true month of the summer anyway, heading towards Labor Day. And as always, we'll take a look back at last week's eBay auction results and what we had that was posted in the newsletter here. Last week was volume number 232. It's hard to believe. And we'll also take a look at the Catawiki sales and what's coming up over there. But before we do that, I wanted to mention some housekeeping that went on here at the site this week, things that were uploaded, because September is, as many of you know, is Asia Week in New York, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a ton of sales, and the quickest way to get all the catalogs is just click this reference bookcase link on the forum page, which you can get to from up here. And you don't have to sign into the forum to get that link, but that's the easiest place to get it. Otherwise, you can just go over to the dealers and auctioneers pages and pull them up that way. All right, and we're going to come up here, and here's the bookcase. And on the top row, you'll find the first 6 of the catalogs that are available currently. There are more on the way. They just haven't been posted yet, so we couldn't download them. One of the things I wanted to mention was, we're going to click over here to the Sotheby's catalog. This is it. Some nice things, as you can see. Here's the cover. We've begun uploading these. We found a way to upload these catalogs now in high definition, so that when you come over here and, for example, find a page you want to look at something on, hold on a second, we'll click through. We'll find a page with some images. This has part of the Junkin collection in it. For example, here, if you take your mouse and just double-click on the screen, it'll pull this up. And as you can see, the images are much clearer than they were before. There's a new way to do these so we don't get any loss of clarity on the pages. And up at the toolbar, once you double-click the screen, if you've had some difficulty trying to figure out how this works, it produces this bar for maneuvering, all right? So you can zoom in, move around, look at the pieces, and when you're done, click the zoom out button, and it puts the page right back where it was, okay? It's very simple, all righty? And there's a scrolling bar feature on these pages, in case you didn't know. Down here on the lower left, there's a little box, and if you click it, it pulls up this, and you can scroll through all the items in the catalogs. All right, and you want to see a particular page, like these tea dust glaze pieces. You click on that, close the box, and there they are, okay? It's a very easy way to maneuver around on it without much trouble at all, okay? So anyway, this is the Sotheby's catalog. There's some great things in there. They've got a really fine, big 27 or 28 inch high Famille Rose Shenlong vase. I think this is it. No, not. Hold on a second. Oh, next page. One more page. Page 74. This came out of a good collection. It's quite a piece. This is a massive vase, and they give a little bit of a write-up on it and things like that. And with the new uploading feature we have, you can really zoom in on these pictures and get a good look at the work on here. Okay, this is a very, very fine vase. It should do really well. It's estimated at $500,000 to $700,000. I think that's somewhat on the conservative side, but we'll see. Okay, and then on the other catalog that Sotheby's have up right now is the Tang Hung and Fung Bi Chi collection, and of paintings. And there's some great paintings in here. As you can see, there's scrolls. There's a lot of this is 20th century modern stuff. And then there's some earlier watercolors. There's some good things in it, some good ink drawings, great stuff, all right? And I suggest you come over and read it, and there's some good information on the owners. And then Christie's got a hold of this. This is an amazing thing. They did one catalog for this lot. Shenlong, it's called Shenlong's Precious Vessel. And it's an absolutely unbelievable bronze that came out of a private collection. And we're going to hop over to get a good look at it. There it is, all right? It's a Western Zhao bronze, and the patina on this thing is absolutely phenomenal, and it has provenance going back to ownership of the Emperor Shenlong. It's estimated at $4 to $6 million. This is not for the faint of heart. But this is a major piece of bronze work, and it'll be very interesting to see how it's done, how it does. It has inscriptions on it. They did a very good job writing the catalog. They put in some really great photography, and as I said, you can zoom in, and if you're a bronze fan, you get a really good chance to take a look at the surface on this bronze. You can really move in and get a sense of what these pieces look like up close and personal, all right? And that's just one of the things. And then moving over here, there's fine Chinese paintings at Christie's as well. Some very good examples. And then there's masterpieces of Zijiao ware. And this is more from the Lin Yu Shenren collection. This is part 4. And if you remember from before how some of those did, they had some absolutely amazing Sung and Liao and Yuan pieces. And this catalog is just packed with great things. And the big thing with this collection was that everything was in perfect condition and everything was perfectly fired. This was a highly selective collection. And if you look at these, you've seen these forms before, and often they're kind of sloppy. These are absolutely perfect. And this collection will be, I'm sure, met with a lot of competition. And then on to Chinese jade carvings. This is on September 13th at Christie's. The cover lot, and there's just all kinds of great jades. And then, of course, there's the Ruth and Carl Barron collection of fine Chinese snuff bottles. This is the 6th auction of their collection. The Barrons were Massachusetts people. They were collectors of all kinds of things, but one of the things that they shared a joint passion for many years was snuff bottles. So check them out over the weekend off the forum page. You can link over and take a look. And it's just some great things, okay? Just really outstanding auction. And we'll let you know how they do, and we're going to do probably a video on all of the sales before they get here, okay? As soon as we can. All right, now on over to eBay this week. How did things go? Another photographer who likes to use Coke cans. They had this very nice mid-19th century. It's a vase probably from a garniture set. These typically are. It's a nice example. It has a tiny nick. Had a little tiny nick on the inside, but nicely done. Well-drawn faces. Good gold in the hair and the black hair and everything. And this was a relative bargain. It only went for $200, and it had just 2 tiny nicks. I don't know quite why, but $200 was a very reasonable buy for those. So good going, okay? And then on to this piece of Kangxi Imari, this little ribbed compressed melon-formed pot. Original lid by all outward appearances, and it looked to be in very nice condition. There's a couple of these floating around right now. I think maybe a collection got dispersed somewhere over in the EU, because I've seen a few of these lately, but this is a particularly nice one. And it did pretty well. It brought $503. And this is a fairly small teapot or wine pot. How big was this one? Let me go double check. I'll give you an idea if they put the dimensions in here. It's probably way at the bottom of the page. No doubt. Yeah, 5 inches across. Okay, and only 11 centimeters high. These are pretty small, okay? But it did very well. It brought $500, which is fine. All right, and then on to this nice-looking later 19th century cobalt decorated with gilding wine cup. A nice little foot on it, deep cobalt blue. Here's the picture of the footroom. This could be an early 19th century one, too. They didn't change a whole heck of a lot. But the potting on this was quite nice. It's obviously an old one. There it is. And it still has the gilding on it. The gilding on these were notoriously susceptible to wear. Just touching them, just the oil in your fingers, anything will help take the gilding off of these, because the gilt was low-fired nearly always, not most of the time, always, at any rate. It brought $260, which, if you're a cobalt collector and you like gilded porcelain, this was a pretty good buy. That's a nice little example, and it looked to be in great shape. All right, and then on to this. This was sort of a nifty little thing. Nothing spectacular, but it was a very nice, sort of typical late 19th century rose, familial rose box. All right, you've seen them before. This is a nice one. It's got the heavy blue enamels against white on the outside of it. There it is. And it went for a modest price, $89. All right, so that can be one of your examples to people that say, well, you can't afford to buy Chinese porcelain anymore. Yeah, you can, and you can buy nice, interesting pieces too. And there are people out there who just collect boxes. So here's another one. All right, and then on to this. This was a nice vase. This was not a Shenlong vase. It was done in the manner of Shenlong. But it was made around 1900. That's what the seller said. I tend to agree with him. I think he's right, 1900 or so. But the quality of this vase was really good. The decoration on this was particularly good given the period. And if you examined, you took the time to look at it, you can see that this was an extremely well-decorated vase. All of the outlining was done nice and neatly. There wasn't a lot of spillage, the precision, the depth of field, everything. It's a good little vase. Okay, there it is with nice handles. Here's the bottom of it. Pretty typical for that time period, and but nothing wrong with this. This was a perfectly nice example with these elephant handles complete, and it was a big pot, and it went okay. It brought $1,730, and that's not an overpayment for a later vase. It was 31 centimeters high, so it was a little over a foot tall, and nice looking pot, a good looking vase, very traditional. I like that, obviously. All right, and then on to the silk. This was a silk hanging that was up, and it's quite unusual, the powder blue ground against just black and gold. All right, but the sewing quality on this, if you took the time to take a look, was really quite excellent. Here's the picture of the back of it. Let's get a detail shot here. Here you go. All right, done in this very nice, very deep, extremely dark black with gold, and then outlined in blue. These are only basically, so you're dealing with only 3 colors. But a very skilled artist wove this. This is beautiful work, very, very proportional. Here are the rocks, the phoenix on it, and the chrysanthemums and so forth. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,730, which is a good price for that. But this was a nice example. It didn't have any tears or rips in it, and it was clearly 19th century. Beautifully done. All right, and then on to this. This was that Soapstone Buddha. The seller had this listed as 18th or 19th century. I think it was pretty clearly a 19th century one, in my opinion. But it was a very good one with outstandingly well carved. This big, fat, smiling Buddha. He had a nice facial expression on him. There he is, and very well rounded. And this sort of interesting silver inlay banding around the bottom of his robes and across his feet and around his belly like a necklace. All right, I like this, and had some nice, very neatly done floral carvings on the back of his on his shoulder and down over his lower portion there. And this was a nice piece, and it didn't bring the world. It brought a perfectly reasonable price. If you collect soapstones and you thought about bidding on this, you probably should have, because I don't think $500 was an awful lot for these. The major auction houses have had these. Even in recent years, and they bring, they can bring $1,200 to $1,800 pretty easily, okay, and sometimes more. All right, but that was a nice one. I like that. And this was one of the surprises of the week. This was a vase that I came across. I was really interested in this. I thought it was terrific. It's a mark and certainly appears to be mark and period Hongxian vase. Here's the mark on it. If you stop to take a look at it, and I grabbed the best example of this mark I could find was right over in the Goldberg site, and there it is. And here's the mark. Okay. 1915-16, a very short reign. Now, this mark was used after his period, but judging by the work and quality of this thing, it had a really great look to it. I think this was period, and I think this might have been one of the bargains of the week, because Hongxian pieces hardly ever come up. I haven't had one on here I haven't had one in the newsletter, I don't think, ever. And I certainly haven't seen one on eBay in years. Maybe it was 10 years ago. And this one looked okay to me. The potting on this, the shape of it was really excellent, and the foot looked good. And it only brought $2,025. All right. This was a pretty good sized vase. This vase was, did the guy even put the dimensions in? 35 centimeters. So it was about 14 inches tall, roughly. And this was a very nice vase. I think that was an outstanding buy. With that beautiful, well, all the gilding's still intact too. The gilding is crucial on these things, and the gilding on this looked quite good. All right, and now on to this. This was that Kangxi jar. It's a typical jar. It's a type you've all seen many times, but this is of a class of Kangxi jar where they really got the cobalt right. And if you looked at the cobalt on this deep sapphire blue cobalt color, really pushes up the prices on it. Some Kangxi pieces, the blue is a little too soft, but this has a nice deep dark cobalt color. There it is, okay, just pulsing, dark blue. There's the foot on it. This is here's a better shot of the mouth rim, very typical Kangxi mouth rim, and so forth, and the drawing of the scholars on the rocky outcropping and so forth. And it did pretty well. As you know, most of these, even Kangxi ginger jars, only bring, $1,500, $2,000. This one brought $4,550, And there wasn't anything unusual about it other than the fact that the cobalt, I think, was so good. The depth of the color was just excellent. And this was not an enormous piece. This was only an 8-inch jar, okay? I mean, because some of these jars are a bit bigger. Some of them are, you know, upwards. They can be upwards of over a foot at times. This wasn't one of them, all right? And then this was a really nice Shenlong Chinese export plate for the European market of the card players. This is a very rare plate. And those of you that have Howard's book, you can go look, you know, in all those books on China trade stuff. You can look this one up. These are pretty rare. It has the berries and roses in the border, okay? And there's one in sepia that the fellow found a comp to. I think that's in Howard's book. Here's a picture of the back of it and so forth. It was in nice shape, and it did pretty well. It brought $3,716. It was perfect, and this was about an 8 or 9 inch plate. All right, they turn up once in a while. This was the seller. Welcome all friends. They had some good things last week. And then there was this very nice Kangxi double phoenix bowl with the deep cavetto with this very fine diaper pattern interspersed with these sort of floral relief things and very neatly done border. This was quite a nice dish. Here it is, or a nice bowl, okay? There's the bottom of it. Beautifully done, and it did pretty well. It brought has a couple of minor nicks. Brought $820. But that was a very pretty example, beautifully drawn. That was a nice one. This was also Welcome All Friends. They had a few good things up this week. And this was one of the great bargains of the week. This was a perfectly nice 19th century Chinese coffee pot or chocolate pot with double dragons on it, running around on the lower section, and then this nice diaper pattern at top. And it's sort of a Western form, but quite unusual pattern. If you're into 19th century Chinese porcelains, this was a pretty good thing, all right? And I think it was a relative bargain. Hold on a second. What did it go for? It only went for $143. I think that was very reasonable for this, okay? This was a good-sized pot, about 8 or 9 inches tall, and an unusual pattern. And I think that was a dandy buy. I like that. All right, and now on to these, the hairpins. This is our friend over in France, Tony, Scrap Dixon is his seller name, got into some good hairpins, and these are really great ones. And those of you who are not familiar with them, the Chinese have been using, these are made with kingfisher and kingfisher feathers. Most of the kingfisher feathers that were used in Chinese hairpins came out of Cambodia. The Cambodians made so much money exporting kingfishers, kingfisher feathers to China for decorations, they practically wiped out the whole population, and it was highly profitable trade. Kingfisher feathers was highly profitable. I had read somewhere once that they made so much money for it, it helped pay for Angkor Wat. All right, and they've been exporting them for a long time. The first kingfisher feather mentions were around 500 BC. Actually, none of the pieces survived, but they found mention of them in poems when they talked about people being adorned with kingfisher feathers on things. All right. And this was a lot of 3 of them, and they're perfectly nice ones. These were probably done about 1880 or so, beautifully done. And this is silver. The base is silver, and then they very carefully glue the feathers onto the silver. It's a painstaking process, and they used a variety of glues to adhere them, including a glue made from fish guts, of all things. But at any rate. They brought $918, but the best one, there was just one, did even better, was this one. This one was elegant. Really liked it, and it appeared to be in very good condition. Still had all of its little sea pearls up here across the top, and nice decoration. The gilding on it looked to be good, and this one did well. It brought $1,586. And if you're out there looking around in shops, you want to keep your eyes open for these because they do turn up from time to time. All right? And then on to this. This was that rather unusual ewer or kendi. Welcome All Friends had this also, an early 18th century one in deep cobalt blue. Perfectly good-looking pot. There's the bottom of it. And it did very well. It brought $2,255. But it was a nice example and quite unusual. They had another one as well in Famille Rose, I think it was, or Femme Vert. All right. And then on to this. This was the robe, that beautiful robe. That we featured it in the newsletter because I really liked this, and it appeared to be in absolutely outstanding condition, and I think this was a very good buy. All right, it went for good money, but I don't think it brought all the money at all, because I've seen these robes turn up in New York and London, and they get you know, 12, 13, 14,000 for these in this condition. The condition of this robe was absolutely stunning. And if you looked at it carefully, you know what I mean, okay? It's a later robe, but a late 19th century robe, but beautiful quality. And it went for $7,550. That was a reasonable buy for that. All right, I think that's a terrific piece of silk. Okay, and these are that was sort of a heavy one, but judging by the texture of it. And then on here over to Catawiki, there was this very nice Kangxi, classical, you know, with the basket in the center and then flowers on the outside. There have been a few of these plates turning up. This one was 26 centimeters. The seller had several of them, and I think it went pretty reasonably, $113. I think it had a couple of minor nicks, but not bad. There's some good buys at Catawiki right now. I'm just telling you, that may change. This was a very good buy. I mentioned this lot last week in particular. 4 nice-looking Shenlong plates with this, you know, matching, you know, obviously matching, beautifully done, and the whole lot went for $210, $50 a plate for 4 Shenlong plates. All right, that was a good, very, very good buy. All right. And then over to this, the armorial plate. This was a nice armorial plate. Had a hairline in it, had some minor condition issues, but a very good export armorial plate with a very Chinese center and just the armorial crest at the top. All right, and then these sort of European landscapes and 3 cartouches around the side. All right, and it brought $113. It looks like on a single bid. All right. So if you collect armorial stuff, you might want to check over there at Catawiki to see what they're up to. And then there was this, a very simple, I put this up as an example. This is a very simple sort of Amari, Chinese Amari, 18th century dish, probably Shenlong. And $73, not bad, okay? Perfectly reasonable. And coming up this week, we had put on our list a bunch of things. And one of them was this. You may remember, some of you will remember this, about 6 months ago, there was a plate that came up, a very interesting a Chinese export plate with an almost identical scene in the center of it, over large, of these 2 figures. Here it is again, this time in a chocolate pot, okay, with these nice big strap handles. This looks to be about an 1770s or so, you know, plus or minus 10 years pot. Here's the picture of the bottom of it. Here's a picture of the other side, and this is a pretty good-sized pot. It's 10 inches tall, lots of gilding, but highly unusual pattern. This is a very unusual pattern, all right? And this is on eBay right now. It'll be in the newsletter. It's got 1 bid at $99. It ends Monday, which kind of surprised me. I think this is going to do pretty well, and the seller said it's perfect. All right, and then he also has this very nice Dutch market sepia puce ground, rather, a Chinese export plate with a ship and an inscription on it and so forth. This is a nice platter. It's 16 inches. This is a big one. All right, and this is up to also 1 bid at $99. All right, if you collect unusual Chinese export, that's a good plate. And our friend Freak over in the Netherlands has this up, a nice-looking arrow vase bronze, probably late Ming or 18th century. Here's the bottom of it. Here's a side view of it. Good-looking surface on this. He has several good bronzes up, so you might want to check him out. He's got a small reserve on him because, it's at $50, and I wouldn't let it go for $50 either, probably. And you know, I'm sure he'll get there. But he's got a number of good lots this week. And then there's also this very nice Kangxi shaped rim dish of flowers. We've seen this pattern before, but this is a nice one. It's a perfectly good one. If you've been looking for one, this is a good example. It doesn't have a lot of disastrous fritz on the tips here the way many of them do. And you might want to check that out. It's up to $17. These are all sort of newly listed, so you got a ways to go. Now, this is listed as Chinese, and I believe it's Japanese, but other than that, it's a nice molded blue and white plate. Sure looks Japanese to me. And here it is. They sized it up with a Coke can. And this has just 3 bids. It's up to a couple of dollars. It should bring 300 or so, I would think. And then this is one of my favorite things of the week, and this is a fixed price item. If you like Chinese bronzes, come over and check these out. It's a pair of Prickett sticks. And they did similar types of Prickett sticks in Japan as well, but these are Chinese Prickett sticks. They're about 10 inches tall. They appear to be probably late Ming. Very rare, very unusual, And I'll be honest, I think the price is way under the money on these, okay? He's got to buy it now or make an offer of $785. These are fantastic, okay? I really think so. I'm not. I like early bronzes, but these are beautifully done. The surface on these looks excellent, and so forth, okay? And I think if he auctioned them, he'd probably get upwards of $2,000 for them pretty easily. They're 11 inches tall, okay? And last is this, a nice-looking export teapot, typical China trade, but in good condition, with a gilded handle and gilded spout. You can see the wear on the handle just from being touched. That's all just handling over time, all right? But it's a nice one, very pretty colors, nicely framed with these light, soft green vines and so forth. And that ends it ends Saturday. It's up to $630, but it's a good pot. That's a nice teapot. All right, and that's about it for the week. I'm sorry it went so long. I went about 3 minutes over what I was hoping for, but there's a lot to go over. Have a great weekend, and thanks so much. And I hope you find something out there that you love, and enjoy one of your last weekends of the summer. And as I said, we'll have the other catalogs up for the auctions in New York. We're going to check Bonhams, of course, as well. And if you use the forum, somebody had mentioned that they were interested in having a messaging service on there where people can privately message each other. And we're looking into that as a plugin. In case you're watching and you're wondering, somebody asked, and we're looking into having that added as a plugin to see, but we're trying to figure out a way to do it without messing up the whole thing. All right, have a great weekend, and see you all next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.